Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's video I'm going to share with you guys my top 6, it was supposed to be 5 but I just couldn't choose. If you guys are new to the channel, hi, my name is Ken, also known as Mr. Ken Dennis, so without further ado let's dive into this video. Okay, when I say every day I probably am going a little bit overboard with that term because I don't actually wear makeup every single day. I tend to just wear makeup on the weekends these days when I'm filming or if I've got an event, and these are probably the eyeshadow palettes that I will tend to gravitate towards because of the color selection and just what I'm feeling that day. I should probably have just called this my warm eyeshadow palette collection video because a lot of these palettes have very similar eyeshadow tones and colors, but I have different reasons why I like every single one of them. So let's dive right into the Kat Von D, or now it's called the KVD Beauty Lolita Por Vida palette. This one is such a stunning palette, as you guys can see, nice selection of colors. Personally, I tend to gravitate towards these shades down here and then maybe a little bit of these shades up here as well. The main reason I like using this palette is because of this shade called Reina. It's just such a beautiful, I like to say foiled eyeshadow that you just use your finger and then you pop it on the eyelid and it's just like bam, next level metallic. Just so beautiful. The only thing that I wish this palette had was a darker brown, because this dark brown Juanita, it's kind of like a medium brown on my complexion, and I could imagine on someone with a deeper skin tone as well this is not going to be deep enough. And the deepest shade, which is the one up here called Cariño, I actually don't even know what that word is. It's sort of like this reddy brown shade, which honestly doesn't really go well with these sort of like colors down here if you're going for like a warm tone eyeshadow. Also Dulces Sueños, which is that shade over there. That one is a really nice orangey copper shade. I've used it only once maybe. It's really pretty as well. Also really like the mirror. It's not one of those warped mirrors, it's a decent size. I also like the size of the mirror. It's just a decent size. You can actually see your entire face in this, well, majority of your face at least. So, you know, if you're traveling light and you just want like an eyeshadow palette that can be quite versatile, whether you want to go for like mauvey tones, warm tones, this is definitely one palette that I really recommend you guys check out. Oh, and also just quite compact. Next we're going to move on to this palette. This one is the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. This is probably one of the first higher end eyeshadow palettes I purchased that I really truly fell in love with, just because of the color selection. So if you guys are a huge fan of warm tone eyeshadows, this is definitely the palette for you. I don't tend to use the lighter shades as much. The shade that I use the most probably in the lighter shade would be Sourced, yeah, which is like the third shade here. Yeah, I don't really tend to use the two lighter shades. If anything, I might use Chaser as like a blending color if I've gone a little bit overboard. But yeah, I just really like this palette. Again, another palette that's majority sort of like on the matte side. You do have a couple, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 shimmer shades, and you know, that's pretty much all I really need, to be completely honest. I just need a lot of mattes. And all the matte shades are varying hues of red and orange and different depths as well, which is really handy if you guys just want a nice very warm tone smoky eye. This is definitely the palette for you. Also came in with a double-ended brush that I have in one of my little containers here, that you can actually use. You know how like some palettes, they come with brushes and they're just almost completely unusable? Not this one. Comes with a decent brush. All the shades here are very pigmented. Even the shimmer shades, they're just very beautiful. They're sort of like this very fine shimmer shade. It's just very beautiful. So obviously you have some light colors that you can put on the lid if you guys want a light shade. But if you want to go very smoky, Ember and Ashes, like these two shades, oh, stunning on the eyes, and definitely more on the orangey red side of things. So yeah, if you guys are into those shades, definitely check that out. The next palette that I have is it's probably a palette that does it all. It's like it's the most versatile palette you can ask for. You can definitely create a lot of natural neutral to very warm tone smoky looks using this palette, and this one is the Be Perfect Cosmetics Clientele palette by Ja. Ja is a makeup artist based in Sydney, I believe, and she just does amazing work. And when I saw that she came out with this palette, I was like, oh my god, I want to have it because the colors are so beautiful. So here it is. I don't believe this is a limited edition eyeshadow palette. I think you can still get this. If you guys live in Australia, you can get this from Glam Raider. I'll have a link down in the description box down below. But just look at those colors. It's just... Now I believe, I hope I'm not making this up, but I believe Jar created these colors because as a professional makeup artist, she actually uses a lot of very similar sort of like shades in her collection. So when she decided to create her own eyeshadow palette, these are the kind of shades that she wanted to incorporate in her eyeshadow palette. You know, if you are a professional makeup artist, you can just bring this and you've got all the colors that you could possibly need for majority of the looks that people are looking for. I mean, like most people, when they go out, they want to have like just a natural like smoky eye kind of color. They might want something a little bit on the orangey side, a little bit more neutral, maybe a little bit more. But just for the everyday person that likes to wear eyeshadows, I think this is such a beautiful palette. The only colors that I think are the only colors that I don't think I would really use are probably the green shades. Which are Kiwi, Hard and Warrior, just because if I'm not wearing coloured contacts, I don't particularly like green on my eyes. I feel like they kind of look a little bit muddy, like the colour, but that's just my personal preference and my own opinion of what it looks like on my eyes. But when I'm wearing coloured contacts, I probably would wear it, but I haven't actually touched those shades. I tend to go for pretty much everything else in this palette because it's just... it's a dream. So you've got different shades, you've got different types of bronzy shades, you have different types of copper shades, you have different types of shimmer shades, of mauve shades, of warm tone shades. It's just an overall beautiful palette. And also the shade Just Black is... You have no idea, it's very hard to find a good black eyeshadow, and this one does it justice. But yeah, I really like this palette. The only thing I will say about this palette is that because it is much larger compared to other eyeshadow palettes, so like the Lolita Por Vida or the Urban Decay Naked Heat, sorry. I don't tend to bring this along with me because I usually just have like one of those little makeup I usually have one of those little makeup bags, the little hard makeup bags that you can bring along with you. This one's a little bit big, and I feel like it takes up so much of my space, and honestly when I'm traveling, let's say to Sydney and stuff for events, I would not bring this just because I'd be scared this palette would get banged around in my normal bags and it would break and I'd be heartbroken. So I usually tend to go for the smaller palettes, but you know, like events back home where I just, you know, get ready at home and then travel, this is definitely one that I tend to gravitate towards. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes that I have. And this one would be number 4. This one is the Norvina palette. This one's just a staple, I think, in a lot of people's makeup collections. Also really like this texture. It does get dirty, unfortunately, and probably the one I take traveling with me the most. So that's what it looks like. Very standard Anastasia Beverly Hills palette layout. So this is the one palette that I will make an exception, though. I actually like the fact that it has so many shimmers. Usually I like more mattes than shimmers, but this one is the exception. It's just got all these beautiful shades that you can use on your lids, and then you've got your standard colors down here. And then you've got your matte shades that you can use to obviously do like the crease work, some definition, and then just party on the eyelid itself. Even the shade Base I can actually use. The problem I have with a lot of light eyeshadows is sometimes when I put shades like that on my eyes, they tend to look chalky. There's a difference between like an eyeshadow looking quite light on my complexion and one that looks just plain chalky, and this is definitely not one of them. I just really like the color selection. The only thing that I feel is missing in this eyeshadow palette is a deeper shade of brown. Now the deepest shade here is called Passion, and it is a nice shade, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you just want a little bit more depth in the crease. If I'm here at home, I'm using this eyeshadow palette, I'm going to an event, I tend to grab another eyeshadow palette just to add a little bit more depth in the crease, because that's just how my makeup style is. But otherwise, this is such a beautiful, beautiful eyeshadow palette. So Anastasia Beverly Hills is available at both Sephora and Mecca here in Australia. The next eyeshadow palette, and probably the eyeshadow palette that I usually grab when I use this as well, when I want that extra bit of smokiness, is the Jackie Aina palette. So beautiful, beautiful palette. That's what that looks like. This is probably one of the eyeshadow palettes that if I do take along with me, like traveling, like to Sydney and stuff, that's probably a little bit more on the fun side because of the other colors that are available in this palette. I love all the shimmer shades. I think I've used all of them already, and they're just stunning, stunning, very similar formula to everything else. Very beautiful colors. I've used these three colors together, and they're just like absolutely beautiful. They kind of make a look like this, but obviously a little bit deeper and a little bit more on the purple side. And then you also have your brown shades that you can use, and this is a shade that I tend to use when I'm using the Anastasia one, when I'm using the Norvina palette one, Credit, just to deepen out the crease. But you know, honestly, I'd be able to just use this palette on its own. It's just, I do prefer some of the shimmer shades in Norvina as opposed to the Jackie Aina palette for certain looks. But you know, if I was stuck with just this palette, I'd be good. Zamn, Z-A-M-N, I don't actually know how she pronounces that one. It's such a beautiful, beautiful lid shade. And then I remember Jackie did a look where she used Wigglies on her eyelids, and that was just so beautiful. And I think that was pretty much a shade that really drew me into this palette, and I purchased it. And then, you know, I started playing around with all the other shades, and I love it. Another one that I really liked is Swansted. Beautiful lid shade. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of green eyeshadows, but this is one of those green shadows that has a bit of a flex. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera because I think the lights are too bright, but it's got a flex of like brown as well, so I really, really like that. When I was coming up with the idea for this video, I was just going to stop at these 5 eyeshadow palettes, but then there's another eyeshadow palette that I tend to gravitate towards, not necessarily bring along with me when I'm traveling, but I tend to grab it because it's just a very flexible, versatile, I should say, eyeshadow palette. It's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina Pro Palette Volume 1. It's just, look, I would not really go outside with a lot of these bright colors unless I were going to like a themed makeup event or anything like that. But I just love the purples in this, and I do wear purple eyeshadow outside sometimes, and I just really like the different hues of purple that's available in this palette. This is the palette that I would grab if I wanted to go for like purple looks. So normally I'd go for like these top 2. Normally I would grab A2 and maybe B4 and B5 in this palette, you know, for like crease work and stuff like that. But then you can also do like a natural neutral eye as well. My color selection for that would be C5, E3, and maybe E5 as well. Like those are like the colors that I would normally gravitate towards if I want to use it for like a neutral eye. So you know, if you have one of these and you can't really think of like how to use it, mix the colors around and you can definitely make a neutral eye or toned down warm smoky eye look. But yeah, there you guys go. Those are my 6 most used eyeshadow palettes that I actually wear on the weekends. I was gonna say every day. I'm just gonna say every day for this video because that's probably going to be easier to find on the internet, but these are what I normally just tend to gravitate towards. There you guys go, that is the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did enjoy this video and you guys enjoy my personality and like to see more of me, definitely head over to my Instagram, which will be linked on the screen and down in the description box down below. And yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.